I hope everybody's been enjoying these videos so far. There is actually one video that has all of this information in it all at once, but I wanted to break these videos down so that it's a little bit more palatable. And if you've only got 5, maybe 10 minutes, you can watch these videos. Like I said in, I think, my first video in this series, I can't even remember anymore. Anyway, this particular video is going to be about macronutrient calculation. And don't overthink it, guys. Really, it's pretty simple, but for the first time that you do it, it's gonna seem a little off-putting. Bear with me, I'll be with you every step of the way. As usual, put your comments below, let me know what you think, and let me know what kind of questions that you have. Sit back, enjoy, and I'll be right back with you. All right, this topic is going to be about macro calculation. And so what macros are, for those of you who don't know, and that's okay if you don't, because not everybody does, and that's cool too. Your macros are short for macronutrients, and your macronutrients are carbs, protein, and fats. On a ketogenic diet, the goal is to get higher amounts of fat than anything else. And this is very contrary to what we've been taught for the majority of our lives. It is going to take you a mental struggle to remember to get more fat and to not try to cut back on it. And I can tell you, all the way through probably my first 3 months, even though I knew I was supposed to be getting more fat, there was something in the back of my head that said, okay, well maybe just kind of cut back on the fat a little bit and just be a little bit more cautious with it. And I can tell you that does not yield the greatest results, especially on keto. The baseline for keto macronutrients is that you're going to get 70% of your calories from fat, that you're going to get 25% of your calories from protein, and then the other 5% are going to be from your carbohydrates. And most of your carbohydrates are going to be like trace carbohydrates, maybe in like your vegetables, stuff like that. But overall, the goal is to keep your carbohydrates to 20 grams or less per day. For me personally, after all these all these months of doing keto, I have found that my body actually operates much better at the 75 to 80% fat range. Now, for somebody first starting out, it's already going to be a little bit intimidating starting out at 70% fat, but I can tell you I saw the best results when I was at 75 to 80 pretty consistently. I was more satiated, I had way more energy, and the weight just came off much more quickly. So that's up to you. Now, in order to calculate your macros, there are literally thousands of macro calculators on the internet. You can be as simple as going onto MyFitnessPal and putting in a macro calculation, but I'm going to tell you, if you do it on MyFitnessPal, it's going to automatically calculate your carbohydrates to be very high, your protein to be pretty high as well, and your fats to be pretty low. If you have MyFitnessPal Premium, you can adjust. I think you have to have the premium. I'm not positive. I know I do, but let me know if I'm wrong on this one. But you can adjust your macronutrients to be a customized macronutrient. So you could say 75% of my calories I want to come from fat, 20% from my protein, and 5% or less from my carbohydrates. Now, what we're looking for in a macro calculator though is we're looking to see what our baseline calories are supposed to be for weight loss. I would suggest going to a website, and I can't off the top of my head, I couldn't even list one for you. I feel terrible, but I promise you if you do a Google search, you will find one immediately. Just type in to Google keto macros calculator, and like I said, thousands of things will pop up. Type your statistics in there. It's going to ask you for your height, your current weight, and it's going to give you a baseline of what it thinks your daily calories are going to be. From there, that's where we're going to find out how many grams of fat you want to get per day, or how many grams of actually we know carbohydrates, less than 20 grams, how many grams of protein, etc. Like I said, it is going to be a bit tricky at first because you are not used to eating that much fat, but that's why I'm creating these videos, because I'm going to show you the ways to get 70 to 80% of your calories from fat and to make it very easy for you to do, and then you will see the results. The fat is going to make you feel much more satiated. You'll feel fuller longer, which means you're not going to want to eat as often as you did before. You're going to notice obviously fat has more calories per gram than any of the other macronutrients. So at first you might be thinking, oh man, I'm eating a lot less, like as far as size of meals, but the calories are a lot higher. But again, the fat is going to keep you so full, you won't even really notice the difference. It's going to be a mind over matter kind of instance. So as far as tracking your macros goes, and you want to track, I promise you don't have to do this for the rest of your life, but especially during this reboot and until you get to the point where your body and your brain are working together and they fully understand how much fat is in everything, how many calories, etc., please track. It's going to be the difference between a successful reboot or a start and wondering why it's not working, okay? So I started out using MyFitnessPal. I really like MyFitnessPal. It's very easy to use. It has like every food imaginable in it. However, MyFitnessPal does not cover net carbs. And so to explain that, net carbs are the total amount of carbs after you subtract out any sugar alcohols, and we'll get into sugar alcohols in a whole other video, but after you subtract out sugar alcohols and fiber. So for example, if something has 10 grams of carbohydrates, but it's got 5 grams of fiber, you subtract the 5 from the 10, and you have 5 grams of net carbohydrates, okay? MyFitnessPal will not calculate that for you, so you would have to do the math yourself, not that that's that hard. But there's another program, actually there's more than one, but the one I can recommend is a program called Carb Manager. And Carb Manager is almost as good as MyFitnessPal. It has a big database. You can scan your foods into there as well. And that one will factor in your net carbs for you. So make sure today your mission is also to find your macronutrient ratio, find out how many calories you're going to be needing and what that relates to in fat, carbohydrates. Again, I don't know why I keep saying carbohydrates. 20 grams or less, guys. Just remember, 20 grams or less. But find out what your fat and your protein macronutrient ratio is supposed to be. And then also decide if you're going to use MyFitnessPal or the Carb Manager, or maybe the both of them together. It's just dependent on what's your comfort level. And we're going to go from there. You're going to find that tracking things at first is a little bit tedious, but after a while you get so used to it. And of course these programs, after you do it a couple of times, you enter the same thing a couple of times, it remembers it and it says, oh, is this what you wanted to enter? If you're eating the same thing every day or you have the same thing for breakfast, it's going to auto-populate for you. So it makes it a lot easier. But please guys, I cannot stress the importance enough of tracking. I know it's not fun. I'm somebody who doesn't like to be as structured in certain things. I don't like to be told how much I can eat, but the reality is the reason I got to be 242 pounds is because I had no structure. So the structure is going to help you. If you have questions about how to use the program or other programs that might be out there, please make sure to comment below and I will help you out with that. And we're going to move on to our last topic. I hope that answered questions about macronutrients. They can seem a little bit tricky, but like I said, don't get yourself bogged down in them. Always, always, always just go for the most simplistic approach. To be quite honest, that's the best way to go. But again, as always, if you have questions, comment below, ask any question, I will answer them. And also don't forget to watch the next video after this. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks again.